Oh, that's on air.
Say what? I was trying to find the freaking podcast too that I was listening to the other day. That was
Good one.
well, that was the one that prompted this. Are you listening, brother? I thought I just paused that, but we are live. All right. After the show, I always forget to turn this shit back up.
I know.
We're there, man.
I read the news today, a two-bit expose of the same old story that I heard yesterday.
And the day before, and the day before.
Headlines, man, they all just go to blame. They're framed and fixed and rigged, and you know the run
Where are you
just spans. So buckle down, plug right in, and cross its way under your skin. Just got back from the things they spout, and you should give me that good news.
Like that, Scott.
Because I'm tired of the same old shit.
And if you are, welcome to the Grounds Friday morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Giles and Jones, 21.6 The Net. The Grounds, where we talk everything from peanut butter to politics. But
No politics.
no politics, of course, here on 21.6 The Net. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Of course, The Grounds brought to you in part through the financial support of our good friends over at Community Home Inspections.
Yeah, community home inspections. We've been around for a little over 20 years now. You know, if you're going to buy that big new piece of property or that small piece of property, your first home, whatever it may be, give us a holler.
Hey, if you've been in a place for years
Yeah.
and you're thinking about moving, might want to get Community Home Inspections over to say, you might want to fix this, and this before you put her on the market. Of course, reach out to them at www.communityhomeinspections.net or 847-401-9501. Go ahead, Gary, in Singapore. Give him a call, collect, and he'll come over and inspect your place in Singapore.
Yeah, Gary, call me. I'll be right over, buddy.
Right over there.
Just give me a little place to fall asleep.
Right over there.
Yeah, welcome Friday, guys. You know, this is the most unique show on the internet where you can actually join us live on screen. So if you want, just click that link down there at the bottom, share with your friends, come on in. If you're not camera ready, you can still talk to us via, typing, chatting type of thing.
We'll throw Uncle Pete's very pretty face up there. You can copy that link, go follow the directions, come on in, and let's chat. Hey, are you listening?
That's the question.
That is the question. You brought this up. Tell me about this.
Well, attention span in our world is kind of nil or getting worse day by day, especially, with the phones and all these new apps and TikToks and all this stuff. People's attention spans are just horrible, right? I mean, they always have been, but I think they've gotten a lot worse over the last few years with all the inventions of all this technology and people being to be in their own space. But my thing that really came out to me is I was listening to a podcast. I do like to listen to those. That's kind of that's my mentorship, if you will, is podcasts.
Good. Yeah, good research.
And they brought up the question, brought up the comment, are you listening? And they were talking in depthly about how when you're talking to somebody that you don't really know, like just meeting somebody, right?
Yeah.
You listen so intently to them, like you are involved in that conversation, right? Like you are there, you're vested. Okay. And that person you may never see again.
Okay.
So why are you giving them 100%, so to speak? But then when you're talking to friends, family, you're clicking in and out nonstop. Most people these days are listening to respond, not to learn. So, and I'm guilty. I think everybody is to a certain point. I'm listening to somebody and I'm trying to formulate in my mind how I'm going to respond to that comment instead of really just taking 100% in what they're doing, or my mind starts fading. I mean, we only have so much attention that we can give to people. So that really hit home for me, because it seems like we pay less attention or give less, and I'm guilty of this, when you're talking with somebody that you really care about or are closer to, because it might not be, because you can pick that up again at another point, right? I mean, but when you're with somebody that you just met, you're wholeheartedly involved. Your mind's not wandering as a general rule of thumb. And that I started talking to people about that, and they're all kind of like, yeah, I totally see that. And I'm like, why? I mean, for the people that really mean that much to you, wouldn't it be more important to give them 100% of your attention?
I don't know if I do that. I don't listen to people I just meet very intently.
You just what intently?
I don't listen to them very intently.
No.
Yeah. And maybe I'm a strange bird, but if I don't want to hear your yakking, I'll just say, you know what, I don't have time for this.
Just push it right off.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking to a potential customer, client, you know, you're 110% into them because you need obviously to get all the details and everything like that.
I'm looking at them as a pile of money. Right.
Okay, so you're really going to listen intently.
Little emoji there, right? Truthfully, yeah.
Well, that's what you do for a living, so obviously you need to be on point.
But no, I pay more attention, I think, to the people who are, who are close to me, and I will put down the phone or say just a second. What if I'm on the phone or whatever, scrolling through whatever, right, or playing a game or whatever, and just say just 1 second, and then I'll put the phone down so that I can dial into what you're saying.
See, I think you're a rarity then, from what I see, and I mean, both of us are involved and meet a lot of people and talk to a lot of different people every week.
Yep.
And from what I see, I mean, you're rare, because what I see, I think most people are just very distracted very quickly.
Now, if I am listening to you and I think that what you're saying has no meaning to me, then I'll go into my email or I'll start doing something. So hopefully it's a polite way of me saying, okay, I'm done with you. Hopefully people kind of pick up on that
would
vibe.
piss me. That would piss me off. And that does, because I actually make comments when people do that too. I would rather you say, hey, you know what, right now this is something I just don't want to deal with, or I can't put my mental capability, but to grab your phone.
Yeah, but people have a hard time. People have a hard time understanding when a conversation is done. You may have said, I may have said, okay, sounds good. Go away. You know what I'm thinking? That's what I'm thinking. That hey, okay, that sounds good means we're done. Wrap this up. Get the hell out.
Yeah.
And you keep hammering and scammering, and I'm just going to be like,
right. Well, and if you have given those social cues, I mean, then it's up to the person, and maybe they're not listening to you. Right. I mean, and that's part of the thing. Maybe they're really not listening. The fact that you're saying, hey, at this point, I'm done with it. Come back at me later.
But here's a few things on, hey, are you listening? One is, I don't think you, and I'm not saying you, Scott.
You can pick on me. That's okay.
I don't think, I don't think people value their time. Right. So the most successful people in the world understand what their time is worth, and they won't let people waste it. Right. And I think a lot of people don't. I mean, every morning I wake up, before I go to bed, I look and see, what do I got going on tomorrow?
Get your day planned out.
So I know I can sleep easy because I know what's going on. When I wake up, the first thing I look at is my calendar. What do I have going on today?
Yeah.
Right before I get out of bed. People are like, oh man, that's crazy. You shouldn't do that. Nope. That's how I have to.
Well, that's your routine.
Right.
That works for you.
That's what I have to do. So if you walk into my office and I don't have time for you, and you just walk in and we don't have an appointment, I'll just say, hey, what can I help you with real quick? I'm in the middle of something, even if I'm sitting there picking my nose, right? You didn't on TikTok. Right. So, hey, what can I help you with real quick? That's how I talk to people. Well, I need, you know what? I don't have the time right now. We'll get on my calendar.
Right. Circle back with me later. Well, and once again, so you are a rarity in a lot of respects like that. Most people will just kind of be like, okay, and they'll just lightly listen to you, let you babble or say what you're saying, and really not even kind of absorb what you're saying, and then they'll just give a comment and kind of like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. So I work with a guy, and are you listening? Right. And he and I started working together, and I'm running something by him, and he's saying, okay, Okay. Now, I'm getting that as let's move forward. That was his way.
Like move past that point. Okay. Yep.
Right. Got it.
Next.
Sounds
Next.
good. Yes, let's do that.
Right. And that's me. That's what I do.
Right. But his okay was his way of processing what I was saying and understanding what I was saying, not, yes, let's move forward. So he would verbally say out loud, or he does verbally say out loud, okay. Well, so then we move forward with, he's like, why do we do this? I go, we had a conversation and you said, okay. Oh, well, that's just me. Well, then you got to,
right. You got to let me know. Yeah. Give me the cues.
So I told him it's good to know now. Right. I said, but going forward, you should probably internalize that okay instead of saying it out loud, because what I was asking for, you were giving permission.
You thought you were getting you thought you were getting the answer. So well, he wasn't really. Really, was he listening? He was processing in his own brain, right? So you're going, okay, next.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same point, he's probably doing what a lot of people tend to do, is just waiting to answer you, right? To say something instead of absorbing what you say. And I find myself doing that all the time. And it actually causes me a decent amount of stress because I'm not there like in the moment, if you will. You know what I mean? I'm already pushing past that point, and now I might have missed something because I was trying to figure out where I'm going from here instead of where you were trying to take me to. Right. And then evaluating from it. And I can guarantee you that the amount of things that I've probably lost out on in my life because I was in that 2 steps ahead of you mode. I mean, and being as an entrepreneur, that's hard not to be a 2-step ahead type of person. You know what I mean? You're always thinking about the answer or the solution.
Yeah.
And that's where, as a husband, I get in trouble because I'm always trying to give the solution, not just listen to the problem. My wife, can't you just listen to me? You know, I mean, I don't know if you ever get that from Alice, but my wife, just listen to me. I am listening to you. No, you're trying to tell me what to do.
Yeah, Alice says, hello. That's what that means. I wasn't paying attention. Hello.
Yeah. McFly. That's it. Yeah. McFly.
Hello, McFly. Right. So I think I think that people are bad listeners. They're not hearing what you say. Are you listening? Because they don't value their time. And
not valuing me as my time if I'm not listening, or if I'm not listening to you, I don't value your time.
You don't value your own time, because if you allow, when you're doing a project, right now you have several projects. Are you thinking about 6 other projects at different places, or are you focused solely on that one project? So in other words, you are doing a home inspection. You're on your way to the home inspection. You get there, you pull into the driveway. And are you thinking about the CBD shop at that point?
That's a good question. Yeah. Some days I do get distracted before, but when I'm in the home inspection, like once I'm right. So like I'm good at it, right. So, I'm like a robot. I tell people that I said, listen, I have it's a mission. You know what I mean? I do every house the same, even though every house is different. It has 4 walls, a roof, windows, doors.
Action, yes.
Right. So I'm like a little robot, and that's why I keep doing what I do and give my customers great services, because I am highly focused on that. Not to say that my mind doesn't wander, because you can't help it. That's just human nature.
Sure.
That's just what
the mind. 68 fastback.
Right. Exactly. That's right. I told you about that one. But yeah, so my mind starts wandering on that, but you have to be able to bring it back to focus on that.
So what a lot of people do, and why it's hard, I think it's hard for people to listen or to hear what's being said is,
there's a differentiation that you just said, listening and hearing.
There's a big one, right? But I've got all these things going on, and because I don't value my time, it's all getting thrown into the crock pot and jumbled around, right? You could take a look at my calendar, and people are like, why do you set your calendar up like that? Because that keeps me focused. And what if something pops up? I program time into my day so that
and you can reprioritize too, but you have a set.
Always can.
We have everyone. You should always have a list, and things are going to change, right?
But if I'm in something, and that's where you learn to do what's important, not urgent.
And what has to be done.
If you always do what's important, there'll never be anything urgent. And if somebody, There's always interrupters, and people who don't value their time then don't value your time.
Right.
So they're going to come in and just start babbling, or we all work with that person who comes in and all they want to do is socialize. And the next thing you know,
they don't
45 minutes of your day is gone.
Yeah. They don't want to work.
What happened? Yeah, exactly. Right. So are you listening? I think people don't listen. They got too much going on because they don't value their time. Right.
And they're not, they haven't figured out how to really get control of their mind, because, mind control, not, like the nanu ninjas, right? Well, but mind control is really important, or understanding how your mind works. We've talked about this in previous episodes about, average person has between 40 and 60,000 thoughts a day. 98% of them are bullshit and your mind's jumping around, but being able to decipher them and being able to focus and be able to, they're called automatic negative thoughts, or ants, like things that come in that can send you a different direction. You have to learn that is that, and push it aside and be like, later, right? To refocus. That is really hard, right? Especially for people that have really bad, like ADHD, right? That's a learned skill. That's something, one of the things that could be taught also in school.
Can it?
At least opening people's eyes up to it, to say, hey, this is what happens and this is how things are. And you are, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, you are what you think, right? And so what you let go through your mind and what you accept in your mind,
that was the case,
who you are.
Be naked ladies.
Well, you are a naked lady. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're controlling what's coming in and what you're allowing in, just like people, you don't allow negative people into your life, you won't have as much issue. You allow positive people in your life, it helps you out. Same with your thoughts. What thoughts are you going to let marinate? What thoughts are you going to let control you that day? And if you're listening, which you brought that up earlier, if you're listening properly to somebody, you might get that. But are you listening, or are you hearing? So a lot of people are actually just hearing you say something. They're not necessarily listening, right?
Right.
And there's a big differentiation there.
Well, yeah, there is. And the idea, I'll just say, if my mind slips, so if we're talking about something and you're going 50 miles an hour with your words and I'm going 10 miles an hour with my thought, I'll just say, wait, say that again. Right. And it stops them so that they go back, because I obviously missed something.
Right.
Wait, say that again.
Which is respectful to the person too. But hey, I was listening, but my mind went off beat. So,
right. So that's what I do. But I mean, there's so much noise in the world that you don't have time to listen. You just don't.
Right.
There's just so
and you
much,
have to learn
so
how to
much
sort
noise.
through it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't do it out of disrespect, right? I mean, it's because you're saying there's so much noise out there. They're just trying to filter out. How do you filter things? What's your mode? And are you valuing your time? I mean, I really love the fact that you said that I don't value, that person's not valuing their time if they're not listening, right? Because that's the one thing you can't buy, right? Is time. Just about anything else in the world you can buy, but you can't buy time. So that one, actually, I really like that comment a lot. So
the interesting thing is, right, and that's what I tell people, for this will be the 20th year when me and the boys go to man camp, quote unquote man camp. We unplug. And I always tell people, I say, you will look forward. Nobody ever knows what to expect, and their first year there, they always want to be doing things and running around crazy, and they're happy because their spouses aren't there or whatever, and you're just hanging out with the boys, being one of the guys. But this will be our 20th year, and basically we just go and sit. Right? People are like, you guys did nothing all weekend. You just sat there. Exactly. Right. Because there's so much noise in the world that if you can just go and be, right. And on over here, my 10 rules of success is practice mindfulness. We're never mindful. Mindful means I'm in the moment, right here, right now.
Right. Not worrying about what happened last night or tomorrow.
You're chatting to me and I'm thinking, well, I'm over here. I'm over here. I'm over here. And then have you ever done this? And please help us out. Join in if you want. Copy the link and join us. But have you ever done this? You and I are having a great conversation. Maybe met for a cup of coffee, yada, yada, yada. I thought it was a great conversation. We leave, and about a half hour later, I go, oh, I should have said this. I should have told him this.
All the
Right?
time.
Okay. So that means you weren't present when we were having that conversation because your mind went elsewhere. If you were present, you wouldn't have forgotten or you wouldn't have said that. So something has created your mind to go
The distraction.
There's a lot of noise in the world. When we go man camp and sit in the woods by the river, there's no noise.
Just what we make.
Right. So it's good to get away to balance like that. But if you ever leave a conversation and then go, oh, I'll just send them an email. You weren't present. You weren't being mindful means being right now in this minute, being present. You weren't there. And that's why people don't listen, because they don't know how to be in the moment. I've got to be 8 steps ahead of you. I've got to be thinking here. I got to be thinking there because I haven't valued my time, because I just want you to shut up and get through with this because I got to, in your case, I got to run out to Galena, for this, or I got to do 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 this. I got to run up here, run over there, going out to Colorado, going skiing. Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, somebody called in sick. Now I got to pick up Fantasy Factory,
Right.
Right.
Yeah. We're not, a lot of us aren't present. Yeah.
All these plates spinning. And we're never really present in a conversation because there's so much noise, and because of that time that we don't value. That's why you love getting away for those days to go ski with your son, to do those things, because that allows you to just be there and be present. Right. Which makes you a great parent, which, it's incredible because you're able to do that. And then people try to suck you out. Oh, must be nice. You're like, wait.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, quit ruining my vibe, because I'm out here being present with the people who matter right now, and I don't have to think about all the other noise in the world. That's why you love it. I see the pictures, like, oh, fresh powder. I'm like, you're insane. There's nothing good about snow.
And you're right. And that's,
right.
And that those points, and here's the way I can look at this is I'm actually, when I'm doing that stuff, I'm listening to myself,
mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
To what makes me happy, what makes my heart warm, what I enjoy, or just trying to cut out the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. Like when I'm skiing, I actually talk to myself going through the motions.
Absolutely.
Like, pull, turns, push this. So I get better and I push myself, and I'm keeping, so I can get into I call it the flow state, right? Which everyone has. And I do that. So I'm listening to myself, but that gets me into the mindfulness, which will bring me to peace. Yeah. So when I am doing that stuff, that's when I am the happiest.
Right.
I really am. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm crazy. I chase everything. I'm a deal junkie. Right. But I'm at the happiest when I'm like sitting in the middle of the woods.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I do all these crazy things so I can go in the woods and listen to myself, so to speak, and regather my thoughts or recharge my battery.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So if you're having trouble listening to people, you have to be able to dial in to where you're at and what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, right? And right. Yep. Retire. Yeah. Dial in, like you say. I like that, because you need to spend the time, respect the time that you're giving them and your time.
Right.
Take in their information, and like you either say, okay, I'm done, I don't have time, or suck it in, make it the greatest conversation. I think that's how you and I kind of got together, is we just blended.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We sat and actually listened to each other and heard each other, right? Going, wow, okay. Because at first when you're going, oh, I'm a deacon, I'm going, wow, I don't know. For me to be friends with a deacon, or, a very religious man. Yeah. Well, born and raised Catholic and stuff like that, but I'm going, I'm, don't judge me for that one.
Catholics don't eat meat. It's Lent. It's Friday.
Oh, that's right.
You'll go straight to hell. Don't have a hamburger today.
Well, it is the internet radio. Unless your wife wants to eat some meat, you could stop at Fantasy Factory.
That's right.
Get the tools.
That's right.
But we digress.
But
you know what I mean? I listened. I heard you. I listened to you. Right.
Yeah.
It was important to me, and it's changed my life, because I did invest. I didn't. Well, but I did invest in listening to you and giving you, for lack of a better term, the benefit of the doubt. Going, okay, I'm going to listen to him and see what he has to say, instead of thinking about going to Fantasy or going to Reese's. You know what I mean?
Right.
What my rest of my day going, wow, he actually makes sense. We actually have a lot of the same thoughts and ideas, even though he is, and I'm
Right.
not dissing you, but he's a deacon and I'm a total sinner.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I probably should go to confession at least every other day.
Only one man better than me, and they crucified him years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, there's not enough of that, right? Bring Lucy down. Lucy's my 12-year-old daughter. I bring Lucy down. She's been in basketball, so during basketball season, it's very. Hey, good morning, Mary Shep, of course,
good morning,
of
Mary.
MyLoSoLifestyle.com.
Lifestyle, yeah.
Living low sodium here Saturday mornings at 11. Her website's MyLoSoLifestyle.
Okay, sorry, Mary.
But
see, I wasn't listening.
As Uncle Pete would say, for the first 2 years of her show, Living Low Sodium. Welcome to My Loso Lifestyle.
Lols.
But tune in, of course.
You guys should tune in. Yeah, it's an absolutely great show.
She's here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Central. So Lucy, I say, hey, I whistle upstairs. And she comes down. That's how I get. We don't have an intercom in our house. And I'm not walking all the way upstairs. So I whistle. And she comes down. She's like, what? I go, hey. Come on down. Let's watch a show. It's been a while. We just hung out. And she's like, rolls her eyes as a 12-year-old, 7th grade.
I don't want to hang out with you.
And then, so she does come down and I, there's a long season, this, that, and the third, and spring season's right around the corner. So we're going to be very busy. But, just come down and hang out. I just want to hang out with you. And so she comes and, she plops down on the couch and her thing and my thing is we love the paranormal shows, right? I mean, we love ghosts and Glenda's and,
Pete's hanging around the studio.
Yeah. And so we'll watch these shows and about ghosts and things like that. And so we found one that, on Discovery Plus that has like 10 seasons or something. So all right, let's get into this. And then she's sitting there and we're kind of chit-chatting and she's on her phone. My phone, and Krejci, I know you're listening. I apologize. My phone was upstairs on the charger all night. So I do that sometimes. I put it up in my office so my phone's not with me, in the evening.
Out of sight, out of mind.
And hey, look at this guy.
Good morning, Gary.
Singapore. Very good morning. And so
he must be listening.
So Alice comes in and I'm like, hey, make it a phone. We'll just watch this show together. We can talk. We don't have to talk. It's fine. I just want to spend some time with you. And then finally she ends up putting her phone down, and we watch a couple episodes or whatever. But that's how many of y'all sit at home and have 16 things going, I mean, honest to God, growing up, we had one TV in the house. One.
Yeah.
Right. And now,
pretty typical.
And now I've got a TV in every room except maybe the bathroom. It probably won't be long before I have one in there.
Yeah.
I don't even like watching TV, but we have them. They don't get bad anymore. They last forever.
So if you don't like TV, why do you have that many?
Because we don't throw them out. I'm like, all right, it is what it is. And sometimes when things, you get people over or whatever, you may want to watch something. I'll go to a different room, watch something else. Right. But I mean, people, how much, when you're at home in your place of solitude,
is that what it's supposed to be?
How busy is your mind? Because you're sitting there scrolling on a phone, TV going, radio going, thinking about your business, thinking about what tomorrow brings, all that good stuff. Right. Mary says we have one TV.
Good for you, Mary. I wish we have
7. We've got 7 we can give you.
I mean, I've got a bunch of TVs, but I only have one in the main room, and then I broke down and I ended up, and I swore I would never do it, but because my wife, when she's done at the end of the day, she doesn't want to sit on the couch. She wants to sit in bed and watch, whatever reality TV shows are.
Gary, how many TVs over there?
We have one main one in the hall, but then we have our handphones. So I don't know if you will consider handphones and computers as your TVs.
Right. Yeah. Alice, good morning, babe, says never a TV in the bathroom. But your tablet and phone go.
Actually, you know what? A TV in the bathroom actually, wouldn't be horrible if you're because my wife likes to take baths. I mean,
Yeah.
So she'll take a bath and she sits there and there relaxes, and she'll sit on her phone and scroll and do the TikTok thing or whatever. But if you're watching something, sit in there and it relaxes. I mean, for me, it's okay. I don't care. The bedroom, I don't like it, but with a happy wife, happy life. So I'm listening to her. I heard her, and
she says seriously, you don't watch TV? I do watch TV, right?
Oh,
we stream it,
but
so I get to choose what I watch.
Right,
when
but
I
you're
say
not a junkie. You just don't watch a lot.
I watch every night.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's probably your decompression, right? Because
Yeah.
so to me, a lot of times, unless I'm watching like a documentary or something, it's mindless, right? So that's where my mind can fall away and stop thinking about everything because I'm watching this. But then it can also shoot you in the pants.
I love watching. There's a couple of sitcoms I watch, like the Goldbergs and Blackish.
Goldbergs.
Goldbergs are funny.
That was almost our childhood.
But we enjoy. Alice and I will enjoy. Some, like the CSIs and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Law and Order.
Yeah. But if it's up to me, one of my most watched shows is Barnwood Builders. I like This Old House. I like watching people create things and change things, and so I watch a lot of that. I love Shifting Gears now with Aaron. He was on Gas Monkey, but it's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like for me, TV really, if it doesn't have to do with houses or cars, or something of a racing nature or nature.
See, Alice says Alaskan truckers, bush people, no thanks. I watch that all the time. Those are swamp people. Watch them.
I watch Gold Rush and I watch Deadliest Catch. Sorry.
Yeah, swamp people where they're fishing for alligators.
Duck Hunters, Duck Dynasty.
Yep, swamp loggers, all those things. Axemen, yeah.
Well, and when you're watching TV, right, you're doing all those things. You're kind of envisioning what they're doing.
Yeah.
But you're not having to, based on the the whole story today is you're not listening to anybody or anything.
Yeah.
You're just checking out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're.
I don't. The other thing I don't do. I don't do a lot of is I'm not watching TV and on my phone all at the same time. Like I'm not playing Scrabble or something like that. Now, if Alice is watching TV, I'll sit down and I don't want to. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to watch what she's watching, perhaps, and that's when I'll play a game on the phone.
But you want to be close to her.
That. Yeah.
Right. So the semi-quality time, right?
Yeah.
At least you're next
now,
to
again, if I'm not listening, she'll just say hello.
Right.
Oh, oops,
right.
ripped it off there.
Right. And that's and as well she should. I mean, if somebody's doing that because like you said, you're not respecting your time, but you're also not respecting them. And that is, I mean, our world today, a lot of people are very disrespectful because they're not listening. They're wasting your time, you know, and
yeah, and a lot of time as well. I have to put the phone down so I can listen. Hold on, let me just put this down so I can hear it. Right,
I can give attention. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. If I've got something distracting me, forget it. And a lot of times too, my girls. Spence isn't at home. My girls will say, "Dad, we already told you this." Doesn't mean I wasn't listening. Just mean I may not remember.
Right. I get that all. I get that all the time because I'll ask what's going on, and my wife will be like, "We told you twice." I'm like, and then I feel like shit because you know what? Then it's like, okay, you did, but I guess I was listening to answer, not listening to learn.
Something,
right? I didn't. Well, I mean, I am really guilty of that, and I think a lot more people in this world are. They just don't even realize it. I mean, you're listening to answer. I'm waiting for you to finish so I can throw in my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Instead of going, hey, what you really said, that makes sense. Let me really ingest that and think about it. Instead, I'm going, no, you're wrong. This is what I think. Instead of going, hey,
yeah,
you actually had a good, valid point there.
Look at how many friendships have been ruined over comments on a social media.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the truth. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, I'm not trying to listen to what you're typing in there. I just want to argue with you, and then you're an idiot. So you know what?
Right.
We're done.
Yeah, well, I
Don't
love.
come over
Yeah,
for Thanksgiving.
that
Done.
yeah, that is an absolute awesome point, right? Because and that's the thing is people they're just wanting to create havoc, right? And they just want their point across. You can go ahead and say yours, but they want nope. This is what I say. Not oh wait a minute. Let's evaluate your point. They're hearing what you're saying, but they're not listening. Or let's put it a different way. They're listening. They hear the words coming out of you, but they're not ingesting it and they're not absorbing it and actually thinking about it.
Well, and now people and understand what I'm about to say is always question what you hear, but listen to what's being said.
Say that again.
Always question what you hear, but listen to what's being said. A case in point, there's a lot of weird things happening in the world as of today, the 4th of March, 2022. You may hear a lot of things. Question that, but listen to what's being said.
Case in point.
Turn on any station that has and plays news or news breaks or anything like that. Very interesting. The sound bites you will hear.
Yeah.
Very interesting today. The sound bites you will hear. And what I would say, I believe, is produced into what you're hearing. However, listen to what's being said.
Right. And then evaluate it. Right.
Listen,
and that's the thing is a lot of people will listen to something, but they don't evaluate.
Morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning, Pops. So Dad says listening is one of the most important skills you can have. How well you listen has a major impact on your job effectiveness and the quality of your relationships with others. We listen to obtain information. We listen to understand. We listen for enjoyment. We listen to learn. Well said. How else could you go? How else could you go wrong there? I mean, it's right on point. I mean, it is one of the most important skills you have because you can't learn if you don't listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Seek first to understand.
Seek first to understand. Right. Shayna. Absolutely. Yeah. Shayna says, seek first to understand. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and and that's where a lot of issues we're having these days is because people aren't seeking to understand. They're waiting to the answer. They're not. They might be.
They want to respond to what they
want to
hear.
respond what they hear. Right. They're not listening and evaluating and questioning it. Right. So that's a great comment, Shayna, because, and I'm guilty. I am guilty. I catch myself, and I am trying to be very adamant about paying attention to what I'm doing and when I'm listening to you. And if you notice, sometimes when you're talking, I'll close my eyes so I can really focus on what you're saying and try to absorb that.
Thought you were just picturing me in my underwear.
Well, I could be doing that too. But,
I'm public speaking.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to cut out all those other avenues that can take away my attention. So I really want to focus on what you're saying so I can try to understand it and give a valid response, or at least not even necessarily a valid response, but just how I feel or how I took that or how that makes me feel, or maybe saying you're nuts.
So when you were in school and you were learning back in the day, some of you may still be in school. In a lecture, Gary, were you a doodler or were you a note taker? Did you draw or did you note take?
I think it's more of a half and half for me. I do take notes, but then here's a problem. I'm sure you know about this concept. Less is more. So I think one thing about
that's what you believe.
Oh,
that's what you believe. Yeah.
Hold outside. Give me a break.
That's what she said. Yeah.
I just got out of the pool.
Well, I mean, the thing is, sometimes in certain lectures or certain talks, when you see the presenter presents their slides or what have you on a big screen, something like that, the problem is if they put everything that they're going to say onto the slide, then frankly, I'll just read the slide and then I'm a doodler. But if the presenter practices the concept of less is more, where he probably has only 2 words on the slide, I will probably be no longer a doodler and I'll probably listen very closely because I want to know what are the 2 words and what is he going to expound upon on the two words on that slide. So it's the concept of presentation of less is more. So I'm a doodler if you attempt to put everything onto the PowerPoint. And I can let you know one country is very famous for this. If you have seen Japanese presentations in Japanese corporations, we actually have a term for them. I mean, I work in Fuji Xerox, which is of course Fujifilm and Xerox Corporation.
Right.
So Fujifilm is a Japanese company. So there's a for us outsiders outside of Japan, when we see the Japanese present PowerPoint presentations and they are experts in that, we actually have a term for it. We call it PowerPoint to death.
PowerPoint to death.
Yeah, if you have a chance, take a look at. You can go online and just search for corporate presentations belonging to Japanese company, and you'll see that they cram everything except for the kitchen sink into the PowerPoint slide.
That's funny.
And they will make full use. The real estate of the PowerPoint slide is never wasted. Every single real estate of it is used right up to the maximum effectiveness, and that's why we call it PowerPoint to death. So they have actually lesser slides to present. They probably only have 5 slides for an entire hour. But trust me, each slide would just cut a little piece of your soul out each time you try to read it.
Yeah. What about you, Scott? You a doodler or are you a note taker?
Both, actually. It just depends on the subject. I mean, back in school, I didn't realize I had ADD really bad or ADHD really bad, and I was cutting out nonstop because I'd get bored really quickly. So I was more of a doodler.
You just had a lot of energy.
Had a lot of energy, right? But but I am much more of a note taker. I mean, we had our board meeting the other night, right?
Yep.
I'm scribbling down. Some of the notes might not make sense to other people, but I'm putting it down. It's how I can actually put something into memory, right? So writing it down. Some people repeat back, like if you'll say something to me and be like, so what you're saying is, I'll write it down on a piece of paper, so then I remember it, because now my brain, I've had to actually physically do it, I've had to visually do it, and then so that it mentally gets stuck in my head. But for me, back in school, I was a doodler because I was bored out of my freaking mind, because I didn't understand it all. My mind was going too fast. I could not pay attention. I didn't want to be there. So I was doodling, drawing, thinking about my bicycle or, the girl down the street or what have
you.
Bicycle. Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to listen. I wanted to learn, but I couldn't focus. And so it was very frustrating.
My wife, gee, I love her. Look at she was a doodler. You should see some of his pages. So
Alice, I'll take you up on that challenge. If you can find someone, bring them on over. I'd love to see some of those drawing Mickey Mouse or Snoopy.
Yeah. So I'm a straight audible learner, right? I don't write in cursive. A lot of good note takers whip it in cursive.
No, we don't. Oh, okay. I don't write in cursive. I scribble. I'm like Scott. I scribble, but the scribbling makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I print everything.
Mine very nicely by that.
Mine's it's all printed, right? But what I do, I have to. I'll bring in. I'll show you. I'll bring it in for next week. I've got notes. I think in thoughts. Right. So I'll do a thought bubble. All over the page, I just have bubbles and thoughts about, if you said, beards are beautiful, I end up putting a thought in and circling it like a thought bubble.
That's interesting. I like what you said, though.
Yeah.
I think thoughts.
Yeah, I think in thoughts.
Doesn't everybody think thoughts?
What was I thinking when you said what made sense to me or I connected?
Or I thought what you said when I was saying,
yeah.
Interesting.
It's usually in the margins. Yeah. So it'll be all the doodles in the margins. I do a lot of diamonds and squares and
just stuff to highlight. Because I know back, the outlines, back when you were doing things, that actually is huge. I mean, it helps out quite a bit to have an outline. And that's kind of, that's with my notes. That's kind of how I put them together. Like, like we do the minutes for the board.
So I read very slowly. Right. It's just the way that I read. I read very slowly.
And that's okay.
So as I'm writing notes, I could be, let me write that note. And I'm trying to copy it down. And now they're on 3 thoughts past that because I'm a slow writer, slow reader. Right. So as I'm writing, I'm also reading what I'm writing. And then you just went on to 6 different things. So I'm not a good listener. But if I can keep my mind going, and doodling, and then when a thought, oh, I like that. What was I thinking in that thought bubble? Boom, at that time. And the way that I take notes will be like left to right. It'll snake around. Right. It's not like doop, doop,
well,
doop.
You
doop.
just said that you're not a good listener. Or are you such an intent listener that you have to make sure that you're writing down? You might be listening well.
No. If I'm writing, I'm focused on what I'm writing and not what you're saying anymore.
Oh, okay, I got it. Right. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to do. I mean, you can't multitask. Yeah. No matter how many people tell you they can multitask, it's impossible. You just do two things very poorly at one time.
Yeah. Maybe this constant smoke and mirror, oh my gosh, we're all going to die fake news environment is leading us to practice using our own internal guidance to know what's true. I just wanted to see you read this. Lols.
LOL.
Doodlers read. That's it. Yeah.
Shayna has a, she listens to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's got a really good mindset, and she's very intuitive.
Oh, she's twisted.
She might be. We're all twisted, dude. It's just what we show to people, right?
That's why we love her.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole station is twisted. I mean,
I think you're right. That's
216 twisted in the net.
You're caught in the net. You're all twisted up. That's
which,
it.
By the way, is brought to you today by
right there. Our good friends here. We'll put them up there. Boop.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Scott about I agree with you and Scott about note taking. I mean, I'm at my computer table. I'm at my computer table here, and I have papers lying around. I have I have 4 notebooks that is crammed with junk that I write based on anything that I see or hear. Yeah, right. Sometimes we just need to what Scott said. Sometimes you just need to just take it down, and at least there's some writing of it. And when we see it again, we go like, oh yes, actually that was what. That was what
journal it down. Might be something.
Yeah. I'm a bit like what Ken said. I mean, you can see that I just scribble and write whatever thing I wanted. But
that's like a Venn diagram there.
No,
right?
That's not a Venn diagram. That's only something that makes sense to me. I think if somebody will look at it, it's like, where do all those arrows and boxes are going to? They are not in any linear order. Well, to me, they are in my linear order, but it's not necessarily in the way that it was presented. It's just like what Ken says, probably just he uses bubbles, I uses squares, or rectangles. It's just trying to connect, find some logical relationship between all these points, and then you end up with a bigger picture. But then that's me. That's the way I look at things, you see.
I do the same thing, and in my thought bubbles, in my note taking, I'll have an arrow that goes from 1 to maybe 2 or 3.
Yes, correct.
Thought came off of that thought. I guys got to I got to remember it.
Right, and
it's all over the place. It's all over the place.
And when you are listening to people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking notes, so you can absorb that in a different way. Yours is through notes and thought bubbles. Yeah. Other people's might be detailed information, but at least when you're taking notes, you know that you're listening at least somewhat, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're taking some type of value out of it, and you're writing it down. So maybe you can use that to respond to that person instead of most people when we're doodling, we ain't listening because we're just bored. We're just checked out.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, there's been a lot of studies, I've been in a lot of adult, a lot of training classes where they'll have fidget spinners and things. So because your mind, the adult mind, does move differently. So you have to kind of keep, something going with your hands to pay attention. Otherwise you will drift. So that's what doodling does for me, is it just keeps something going. There's been several classes where my pen runs out of ink because I've doodled too much.
That's a lot of doodling.
Yeah,
that's a lot of that's a hell of a lot of doodling.
and then there's something good to be said. You're like, well, I guess I'll screw that. I don't have any ink in here.
Yeah,
you only took one pen to class.
Right. Maybe I should become an artist then. Maybe that's how you know.
No, not me. I'm horrible. I can't draw anything.
So Gary, obviously our topic today is, are you listening? I mean, how do you take on that? Do you think that Kent had mentioned earlier that if you're not listening to people or taking the time, you're disrespecting yourself? What's your thoughts? I mean, what's over there in Singapore? I mean, do you feel that people actually invest the time and the mental energy, or it's just kind of a blow off and they're listening to you to answer, or they're actually listening to learn?
I guess
your culture's a little different than ours.
Well, not okay. Perhaps what you mentioned, the last part about culture has been different. That perhaps might be true if you're talking about 15, 20 years ago. But what I noticed as with the modern young generation, and I'm sure you also seen it in the US society at large also, with the modern younger generation, the listening part, unfortunately, is not a strong point or strong skill for themselves, because there is listening and there is hearing. So when you hear, you are actually not listening. You're just hearing sound waves entering your ears, being converted into voice, and then the sound waves going out. You're not listening, you're just hearing. And I think a lot of the younger generation, they hear, and they actually hear very well. They can actually hear from multiple sources. And Ken, your daughter's probably one of the, the generation. They can hear multiple sources of sound waves, but do they listen to what they're hearing? Then I think that's a completely different discussion altogether. So what we notice here is that with the younger generation, I guess from 20 years ago you now, they hear, but unfortunately a lot of them can't have a proper conversation because the listening part is not there. Which listening actually is hearing plus comprehension. When that doesn't happen, then it's very hard to have a discussion. Now, as for the older generation, or the slightly the more the older ones like myself, 50, 51, and above, we can listen. We can listen. We not only hear, we actually can listen. The problem is we probably can't listen to too many things at one time. So there we have the young ones that are able to have multiple sources, but here we have the older ones with probably like, I need to listen to one or two sources only at maximum at a time, because I need time to process the thought. And this is exactly what you and Scott, what you and Ken are probably talking about. Oh, you have mentioned also, we need time to process it. Ken especially, he needs time to process it. So therein lies the two different aspects of listening. And I believe this is not only unique for here. I believe it's across the world, because it's just the way that technology has enabled us to have information, or information overload, if you want to call it. So then it really stretches the human mind.
Yeah, we get information. Yeah, we get information overload, but how much of it is actually really being taken in? You know what I mean?
So we hear information. Information overload means we hear all the information, but we don't necessarily listen to it, and that's the key thing.
Love what Shayna says here. Do you guys ever ask for a sign to help guide a decision? I think if we pay attention, we often get one. That is a form of listening. That's pretty good. Are you still enough, silent enough? Again, I go back to mindfulness. Are you present? Are you in this moment, or are you in a moment behind you, or a moment in front of you? Right? And I think, if you are present, if you're practicing mindfulness, if I'm right here, a lot of people call it Zen, right? Right here, right now, right? Are you paying attention to what is happening at this very moment, and not what's going to happen in 2 seconds from now?
And are you listening to what yourself and what your body is telling you? Right. Yeah. When you're saying that's the Zen thing, right? Are you listening to yourself? The mindfulness. Are you listening to yourself? Shayna says, looking for a sign. Are you listening to what your body is telling you? Do you have that feeling, that emotion?
So I'm always listening, right? So whether you call it a sign from God, or whether you call it a sign from the universe, whatever. When I used to have a beautiful 84 Honda Nighthawk 650, blue with the red and silver. Oh, man, it's gorgeous, right? Had that for years. Alice had gotten it for me for a birthday, and we're getting ready to take my son to college, and that would have been 10 years ago now. And we got a kid watching our dog, and he wanted a little necklace with a mushroom inside of it, right? So I go over to Cloud9 here in town, and they happen to have them. So I'm like, hey, I'd like this necklace. And I rode my bike over there. And when I pulled up, this young kid is like, is that an 84? I'm like, yeah, it is. how much you want for it? You want to sell it? I go, well, make me an offer I can't refuse. He goes, I can't. I don't have enough money. I love that. My brother and I are looking for something like that. Turn into a bobber. Oh, okay. Well, here's my card. Have you ever think of it? Give me a call. Right?
You ever come up with some money?
Right. So, and I shrug it off like, that was interesting. It was a nice bike. It really was. And it's classic lines and whatnot. And I was like, okay. And I drive home. Wow. We're then taking my son to school, and we're in northern Wisconsin, right on the UP border, and we're taking a back county road, right? So we get off the main highway. We're taking a back county road, and I come around this hairpin turn, and then you go up a hill. So we start going up a hill. There's a house over here on the right, and people are going like this, and I'm like, hey, friendly people. I wave to them, and we're in our big conversion van, and I crest the hill, and two guys on wings, on gold wings, road rashed everywhere. The power line had snapped and come down and hit one of them or both of them.
Oh,
and they were big old guys on brand new wings, no shirts, no helmets, all broken bones now, of course, and the wheels are still spinning on. So the people doing this would probably say, "Hey,
trying to slow you down."
There's a wreck, and that was the closest house. They're probably calling 911 or whatever. All right, so if I was an idiot, I would have gone, that's a coincidence. Guy wants to buy my bike out of the blue, and I come across this accident where these two guys are wiped out. We're helping out, whatever. I tell my kids, stay in there. I mean, the wheels were still spinning on the bikes. And I'm like, oh, we got back into town from taking my son. I called the kid over at Cloud9. I said, how much you got for? And he's like, I'll give you this much. I could do it. Done. Come over with cash. He's like, are you kidding? I go, no.
So that was your sign. You were listening. You were listening inside. Yeah. You thought something said, "Hey, Kent, it's time to get rid of her."
Man. Yeah, that's not coincidental. I had that bike for 10 years, maybe 12 years. No one ever said, I'll give you cash for it. And within 24 hours, that happens. That's a sign. You got to listen to that. And I did. And you know what? Have I regretted it? No. I love bikes. Don't get me wrong. I do. But do I regret it? No, not at all. Look at that. Alex Golkowski early. Look, we got Singapore late. We got I'm not listening to this shit. That's good. That's good. Let's see. Bob says something here. What does he say?
It says, in a world driven by digital distractions, we seem to have lost the art of listening. Amen.
What is how do you get it back then?
Well, how about
what's the art of listening?
Maybe the art of listening. How about the attention? I think, Matt, more than listening, it's attention, Bob. Right? I mean, because our attention spans are so short these days, and people click back and forth nonstop on things. You can still listen, but your attention span is not there. Like, people are trying to multitask nonstop, right? You're not giving enough attention and effort. Like, if I'm listening to you, or if I'm listening to answer, and I'm not listening to learn, it's my attention. I'm not giving you proper attention. So with listening comes attention. You have to give that person attention, and even mindfulness, right? When you're listening to that person. So, I mean, your statement does have a little bit of water to hold up there.
There you go. Yeah, I like what Alex says. We're consumed with the idea of being right more than understanding people's perspectives. Again, you go back to what Shane said.
Right. And that's what I was saying too.
We're understand.
Right. We're listening to answer, not listening to learn. You'd rather be like, well, no, I'm right. This is what it is. And instead of saying, because like my kids get mad at me because my thing is question everything. I always ask questions. If I'm listening to you and you say something to me, it makes me think about it differently. I'm actually listening and paying attention and not trying to just answer your question or say, no, you're wrong. I can look at something differently and could change my life. I'm listening to myself, listening to them, listening to the comment, just like you listen to your interior, your mind, or your sign that it's time to get rid of the bike.
It
Right.
was too. Yeah. Conversations are like that show. Name that tune. Yeah, right.
Name that tune, 3 notes.
Right. Well, again, we're on the backside of this. Of course, we got about a minute and a half. And thanks, Bob, for answering. Social media originated from the power to connect people and give everyone a voice, but in fact, it had just made us talk more and listen less.
I guess it depends on the people, because it depends on the person, because there are people like me that don't really post a lot on my own Facebook page. But then I actually read a lot of what other people are posting. Whether I agree with them or not, that is entirely my own mindset. But I just read because I just want to see what it gives me a chance to see what other people are doing. But then I don't actually necessarily respond on their post or whatever. I just read. That's all. It's for my own understanding, because the digital part actually makes it easy for people like us to be connected 9,000 miles away from one another, But it does not mean that you have to force me, or I force you to agree with me. That's the distinction with that.
Listen,
we are at the back end.
Here's what I'm going to say. Question everything you hear. Listen to what's being said. If you can do that, life is good. However, you're going to want to keep listening to 21.6 the Net in about a half hour. Bridging Civil Tension, brand new show coming up, which is great. New topic, a lot of good stuff, a lot of tension in the world. You wouldn't very civil tension. Of course, then at 1 o'clock is the Neighborhood Pulse, followed up by In the Know with Steph and Joe. And one last comment here from Mr. Kolkowski. People who will share misinformation to spin things to make them look good. People want to elevate their status in life and be in the know. Be in the know. That's why people love gossip, because they want to be in it. Yep.
Thanks for that comment, Alex. And everyone, thank you for tuning in to the grounds this morning on 216 the Net and getting caught with us here. We appreciate it.
Before you get off your computer, go out. I see a lot of Facebooks there. Go over to our YouTube page at 216 the Net. Like and subscribe, and share that out too. We're looking for 1,000 subscribers. For all of us here at 216 the Net, be good.
Love you all. Each other. Yeah, be good to each other. Have a great weekend. Spread the love, people.
Play us out, Sam. Great job, Sam. Oh,
in my calendar, looking in the mirror like, damn, I'm breaking up.
Hey, that's it. Cardi B or somebody, I have no idea.
That is not a good. They ain't giving me no good news.
Listen to the words.